Hi, I'm Doug Stern from Pandora, and I have the pleasure of introducing our final guest, who I've known for a little bit of time. I have a couple of cheat notes, but I think you're going to enjoy him. You know, we've talked a lot about the science and measurement and technology connecting pipes to deliver digital audio, but we haven't talked a lot about the art of creative. And to help us on that topic this afternoon, I'd like to introduce Chris Smith, who's the creative director at the Richards Group in Dallas and has been for some time. You'll know his work. He'll share some of it with you. It includes clients like Motel 6, Home Depot, famous footwear, and dozens more. He's a two-time Jeopardy winner. I thought that was pretty cool. And also, last year, Ad Age named him to their distinguished list of 100 creatives in the U.S. So we're delighted to have him here. Chris, it's your show.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. I'm not going to sit down. I'm going to walk around. I'm sorry to keep you from the bourbon. I will use my 20 minutes. Hopefully, it will be entertaining. But I want bourbon as much as you do. So I just found out that because of the storm, my flight tomorrow at noon is moved to 6:30 a.m. Friday. So I'm going to have a lot of bourbon. All right. I may be sleeping on the street, but hey, I'll be warm. So there you go. Could you get a picture of my ears look bigger? Thanks. That's the one I was hoping for. So about in 1992-93, around that time, I was a student at Penn State. I was studying advertising. And I'll tell you the short version. I fell in love with two things. I fell in love with an advertising campaign, and that was the Motel 6 advertising campaign. And I heard it in a class that we were listening to reels, and I said, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to write advertising like that. And then also around that same time, I fell in love with a girl and a piccolo player in the marching band. Check it out. You can still do it. You can still do it. So now, 24 or 5 years later, I am still married to both of them, to that brand and to that girl. So one of them's happy. So, but I'll let you figure out which one that is. Well, it changes day to day. Although I do a lot of radio, a lot of audio, I'm also, like most copywriters, what I really want to do is write movies. We all have a screenplay in our drawer, every copywriter in America. I've got 3. And it's kind of a hobby of mine, and I read about it a lot, I study it, I read books about screenplays and how they work. And as I was doing more of that, I realized that all of those tricks and all of the things that work, that make a movie work, that make storytelling work, even though it's a visual medium, they all work in audio. All the same rules apply. Audio is really storytelling at its most basic. It is campfire, cavemen, words, sound effects, music, okay? That is audio. That is exactly what it is. That has not changed. But all of those tricks that make any story work in audio, whether it's 60 seconds or whether it's, as I'll play for you, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds. All right, so what is a story? A story at its most primal is character, plot, and theme, okay? Character, who's in the story? Plot, what happens to him? Theme, what do we want to learn? What do we want to do? What do we want to take away? Advertising works in the exact same way. Character, your brand. Your brand is the hero of the story. Your brand is the one that goes through the journey. The best characters, now a lot of people think that they need their brand to be likable. You all do that exercise when you do branding where it's describe your brand. If your brand walked in the room right now, what would they be as a person? And everybody says the same thing. They would be a likable, knowledgeable resource. Like every brand says the same damn thing. Likable is the worst one. Your brand does not have to be likable. Your brand just has to be relatable. If you think of some of the best movies you've ever seen, or some of your favorite movies, think about if that main character is likable. Think of Road to Perdition, a movie I like a lot. Tom Hanks is a hitman. He's a killer. He's a murderer. But you root for him because he is relatable. His son is in danger, and he will do whatever it takes to save his son from the bad guys. Not likable, but relatable. Dexter, the TV show Dexter, one of my favorite shows. The main character of that show is a serial killer. He is a psychopath. But He has trouble with his wife and pressures at work, and he's got secrets he doesn't want anyone to find out. We can all relate to that, except where it comes to the stabbing and the bleeding. So I'm going to play you a spot, one of my favorite campaigns of all time, audio campaigns, where I would tell you that the character, while great and relatable, is not likable.
It's been said that he buried a time capsule full of things that haven't happened yet. If he needs a quick escape, he just walks out the front door. His bear hugs are actually hugs he gives to bears. He's been pronounced dead 7 times. Make that 8. He can't be bought, but his beard clippings occasionally come up at auction. He's never lost a sock. If he disagrees with you, it's because you are wrong. He has never saved anything for a rainy day. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis.
Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
All right, probably if you met the most interesting man in the world, you notice they didn't say the most likable man in the world, the most friendly man in the world, the most interesting man in the world. If you met him, he's probably kind of a jerk. But he's pretty interesting. The Axe body spray. If Axe body spray were a person, he would be a douchebag. You would not like him. However, he would have game. And you would be like, damn, how does that guy do it? He would do it. Tom Bodett, you can't break character. When you're a brand, your brand is a character, you cannot break character. If Tom Bodett were to start using long, flowery words, that would not work. If the most interesting man in the world suddenly just stopped being cooler than you, that would not be strong character. So that's your first one, character. And I'm doing a shorter version of this, so I apologize I'm going so fast. I just want to play you more audio. Second is plot. What plot really means is what happens to the character. How does the character change? What change happens during the character's story, and how does he grow? All right. The most simple structure you will see in a movie is the 3-act structure. Okay, that's pretty common. First 15 minutes, problem. Next half hour to 45 minutes, all the things he does to deal with the problem. Third act, last 10, 15 minutes, solve the problem. The parlance they say in screenwriting: first act, get him up a tree. Second act, throw rocks at him. Third act, get him down. All right. But what drives plot in every single? There's a little quiz I do as part of this talk. If you write a screenplay and you give it, this is the most common note in all screenwriting. You give it to someone and they give it back and there's a note. They have criticism. They say this scene isn't working. Add what? What do you add? Who said conflict? You get an extra bourbon. Conflict. Without conflict, there is no scene. And without conflict, there is no advertising. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be conflict, F you, people screaming at each other, that kind of conflict. What conflict is in advertising is, in branding, is what does your consumer think? What do you want them to think? That is the conflict, and there is that conflict at the heart of every single brand, okay? Home Depot, one of my agency's clients, the conflict there is, I do not have the tools and know how to do this project myself, I need to hire a professional. That's what our consumers think. Our job is, no, you can do it. You just need a little know-how and the right tools, and we can help you with that. Nike, I cannot achieve this physical goal. I cannot do my best. Yes, you can. Shut up and do it. Chick-fil-A, I want a cheeseburger. No, you want a chicken sandwich. Praise Jesus. Motel 6, it's true. Motel 6. It's funny because it's true. Motel 6. One of the big breakthroughs we had when we first got that client 30 years ago. We've been doing the same campaign for 30 years. I was in 8th grade when we got that account. I was not on the pitch team. I was on a shoot. No. People thought staying at Motel 6 meant you were poor. I'm poor. I can't afford a nicer hotel. We turned it around and say, no, you're frugal. You won't waste your money on a fancier hotel with a bunch of jojoba, body balm, and all that stuff that you don't need, because when you're asleep, the rooms look all the same. So that was the conflict. I'm going to play you some Motel 6, a spot I wrote last year that I'm proud of, that has a little conflict in it.
Hi, Tom Bodette. Seems it's harder than ever to find a regular old dog. Everybody wants some designer combination like a Labradoodle or a Maltipoo. And I don't even want to know what a Schnauzeranian Cockapincher is. But I guess if Motel 6 can combine clean, comfortable rooms with the lowest price of any national chain, you can combine anything. So you get a good night's rest and you save a shitsadoodle. Well, I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
I got the word shit into a commercial. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love the highbrow stuff. So one of the things that makes us being able to do a Tom Bodette commercial and keep them relevant and funny for 30 years is that there is always something new in the pop culture that he can have a little conflict with, that he doesn't quite get, that he's a little behind. We had one, we just won the Super Bowl actually. We were voted the best radio spot on the Super Bowl. Thank you, Westwood One, for a spot where he tries to talk like a millennial. And I wasn't able to get that in the presentation in time, but I did get him to say that our prices are low AF. So if you're a Gen Xer or a Boomer, ask one of the millennials afterwards what that means. Here's another one, another campaign I love, really wonderful conflict that they picked up. Whoops.
Mom, Lisa's playing with my toys.
You know we share in this house.
You gotta share all your stuff, according to Mommy, who knew you were being raised by a socialist commie. She needs ragu, 'cause growing up's tough. Give her ragu, she's been through enough.
A long day of childhood calls for America's favorite pasta sauce.
Okay, what I think is great about that is
Maggie Brown.
Here.
John
Can you stop that?
Fox.
Sorry, I only want to play the first one.
Topaz
Sorry.
Henderson?
We don't have time for 3 spots. That's ridiculous. There's bourbon waiting. What I like about that spot is the conflict. They could have just said, well, first of all, there's a conflict, kid versus world, kind of from a mom's perspective, which is sweet and we all remember. But also there's a conflict at the heart of that brand, which I think is brilliant that they tapped into it. A lot of moms these days are so busy, so time-strapped, that they don't think they have time to cook. Okay? I don't have time to cook. I'm a bad mom. I'm too busy. I don't make dinner for my family. What Ragu said, they could have said, it's made with the finest herbs and spices and vine-ripened tomatoes and all that crap. What they said was, basically, if you have time to boil water and dump sauce on it, as far as your kid's concerned, you're cooking. You're making dinner. And that's a big deal. And your kids will appreciate that, and that will be the best part of their day, because kids have bad days too. So I thought that was brilliant. The third part, theme, is the third part of the storytelling. What do we want to learn? What do we want our listeners to do, to take away? Obviously, advertising. We want them to buy things or think about our brand or any number of positive interactions with our brand. But of all the storytelling tools that we use, metaphor, allegory, irony, whatever, the most important one that a lot of people forget in advertising is, and in movies, is subtext. If you ever get, again, you submit a screenplay and you get comments back, one of the comments they say about your dialogue, why dialogue is bad, one of the things that is bad about bad dialogue is they will say it's too what? Do you ever hear the phrase, on the nose? You ever hear the phrase, on the nose? On the nose means you basically told me what you wanted me to think. There's no subtext there at all. Advertising works the same way. Subtext, some famous examples of subtext. If you've seen Gladiator, that scene where the crazy Emperor Commodus is talking to his sister and he's like, what have you been doing, busy little bee? He's not telling a story about a bee. He's saying, I see what you're plotting, and if I catch you, I'm going to kill you. In Pulp Fiction, that interminable, endless scene at Jack Rabbit Slim's where they're having a $5 milkshake and she's telling the story about Fox Force 5 and all that stuff. We don't care about all that stuff. That's foreplay. That's what that scene is. You're watching foreplay, but in the form of Quentin Tarantino verbal diarrhea. So the reason we need subtext is because consumers know when your strategy is showing. Okay, they can tell. And I have an example. This is an example, and I'm sorry to do this. I always play this, and it's because I loved this spot for the first 48 seconds so much. But then again, their strategy is showing, and they broke character. There's a whole bunch of rules they broke. But I want to see if you guys have the same reaction I did the first time I heard it.
Hey now, looks like someone's getting freaky at your house. But it ain't you, baby. If you got mice, they're getting it on all night long. So if you see one, you can bet there's two. And where there's two, there's... That's right, baby. And baby doesn't make 3. It's more like 17 per couple. And since mice like to share the love, they let all their friends know where to go. So if your walls are rocking, don't come knocking. Call the pros at Plunkett's Pest Control, baby.
Hi, I'm Stacy, 3rd generation owner of Plunkett's Pest Control. Let my family get rid of your mice for good. Because the only family that should be growing at your house is yours, baby. Call 1-87-PLUNKETS or visit plunkets.net.
No offense to the good people at Plunkett's. I'm sure they're very nice people. But my God, I was sitting in, the first time I ever heard that spot, I was sitting in the final judging room for the Radio Mercury Awards. Okay, some of the best radio creative directors in the world sitting in that room, and somehow I got in, and listening to that, and we're all listening, and we're like, oh, that's really clever. What a great idea. It's not, you know, vectors for disease or whatever. Mice are humping in your walls. That's gross. All right, that's interesting. That's an interesting strategy. And then they literally did the record scratch sound, and they had the 3rd generation, you know, the granddaughter's founder had to come on, and all that kind of stuff. And literally all this room full of people went, no! Like, we wanted to like it so much, and now we hate you. So, again, subtext. That's what makes some of the best stories of our time. The TV show MASH, movie, actually, not the TV show so much, but the movie MASH, I ask this question all the time. What was MASH about? It was set in Korea, but what was it about? It was about Vietnam. That's exactly right. And I've almost gotten into fistfights with friends of mine when I say MASH was about Vietnam. Like, it's Korea. I'm like, no, it was set in Korea. So, like Animal Farm isn't actually about animals on a farm. It's about the Russian Revolution and the Bolsheviks and the Trotskyites, but we'll get into that another time. The Crucible. The Crucible is set during the Salem witch trials, but it is about McCarthyism. So you see, in order they use subtext to tell a brilliant story and not on the nose. Okay, Dos Equis could have said, more interesting people drink Dos Equis beer. They could have just said that, and that would have been very boring. Instead, they found a way to say, not just more interesting people, the most interesting people, in fact, the most interesting, single most interesting person in the entire world drinks this beer. So you can make the connection and go, oh, I would like to be that guy. I will drink this beer. So finally, my final point here, and I'm going to play some more examples. How do you make a campaign work? A campaign works the same way that a movie franchise works, that a TV series works, okay? It's the same story over and over and over again, pretty much. So sequels that work, series that stay on, 2 things. They create an expectation, and they deliver it with a surprise every single time. Seinfeld, one of the classic examples. Again, Seinfeld was a show about nothing. They said this is a show about nothing. Seinfeld created the expectation that a bunch of sort of 4 people who were sort of didn't like other people very much were going to get into a situation that all of us face every day, and somehow it was going to blow their entire world apart. And they were not going to be able to cope with it, and it was going to create the biggest problem ever. And they managed to do that again and again and again in a surprising way for how long? 10 years? How long was Seinfeld on TV? Star Wars. We pretty much know what we're going to get when we go to see a Star Wars movie. In fact, not this last one, Rogue One, but the one before it, Force Awakens, we got the same movie we got in 1977, pretty much. There was a bad guy in a mask, there was a big thing that looked like a moon that blew up planets, there was a cute little robot, there was a cute chick who found a lightsaber. Oh my gosh, here's a map, I can find the Jedi guy who's going to solve everything. It's literally the exact same movie. But there's enough surprises in there where we go, I love it. Oh my God, take my $12. So I'm going to play one. This is, Snickers has been doing a great job of this with You're Not You When You're Hungry. I love that campaign. Here's a new example that just, it's pretty recent within the last year that cracks me up. It's from Toronto.
Well, it's a chilly one out there, folks. Today's forecast mainly cloudy with a chance of sun. Unless, of course, you're my son, because there's not a whole lot of natural light down in the basement where you continue to live, unemployed. Moving on to traffic, we've got a busy commute out there this morning. People heading to work, probably so they can afford to live in their own place and buy their own groceries. Must be nice to be their parents, huh? And in breaking news this morning, You're 34 years old, Jake. Okay, ding, ding, ding. Your mom and I have plans for that room, and it's not competing in online gaming tournaments or binge-watching anime in our underwear, is it? Not even sure who I'm talking to right now. It's not like you can hear me, Jakey. Probably still sleeping, because why not? Old Jake needs his beauty rest. Who knew avoiding responsibility could be so exhausting? Over to you, Bob. Bobby!
This update has been brought to you by Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
It makes me laugh. You're 34 years old, Jake! That cracks me up. Now, real quick, short stories. Obviously, short stories are a thing. How can we tell these same stories? Media time is becoming more and more expensive. People are getting more and more fragmented. Messages are getting shorter. The 60-second spot, pretty rare. Everybody's doing 30s, everybody's doing 15s, everybody's doing bumpers. Buy my stuff! And going away. You can still tell a story in that time. James Cameron, the guy who did Titanic, we've all seen Titanic, told the story of Titanic to pitch it to the studio. He thinks this is the record for the most money made from the shortest pitch. And that his pitch to the studio was 5 words. He held up a picture of the Titanic sinking, a famous painting of the Titanic, and he said, "This ship, Romeo and Juliet." And then, yeah, sold. They said, "How much do you need?" And he said, $300 million. And they said, "Back it up." But they ended up making billions. So you can tell that story. Like if I say, Die Hard on a plane. Okay? I just told you the story of Air Force One. I told you the story of Die Hard 2, pretty much. I told you the story of Snakes on a Plane. I told you the story of Executive Decision. I told you the story of 4 or 5 movies right off the top of my head, just by saying Die Hard on a Plane. So you can do it. So here's just a couple really good examples. Hopefully they're all on here.
Gillette presents Moments to Avoid.
I'm sorry. This is a nude beach?
I am nude.
Make sure your body is groomed perfectly. Trim, shave, and edge with the Gillette Pro Glide Styler.
That's for a shaver. That's 12 seconds. Let me see which one's next.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Something, something, Jesus, coffee, and cake in the fellowship hall.
Long story short, quickcrete, fast setting concrete.
That was 10 seconds. There's another one for Sears Optical that I used to play, which is a woman screaming at her son, "Susie, come inside, you've got goosebumps." So 5 seconds, just like it didn't get a laugh, so I stopped playing it. I have one bonus spot I'd like to play you. I don't remember what this is for, but I enjoy this spot, so I'm going to play it.
Tom.
Well, damn, I sound
Tom.
good.
Hey, Tom.
What?
Okay, I was thinking, right, of getting us a digital radio.
A digital what?
Digital radio. Like, we get all of our favourite stations, plus more than 20 extra ones.
But you've got me.
Yeah. Good. Okay, yeah, no, you are good, okay. But what if I want to listen to, say, jazz? Yeah, or 80s rock. Or the news.
In local news, a beatboxer is feeling completely insulted by his housemate.
I'm not doing, okay, right, Tom, what if I want to listen to it in the shower?
Okay, let's get one.
Digital radio, the box you can't beat.
All right, so there you go. That's it for me. So again, find your brand's conflict and challenge your creatives to find that conflict, or your planners, if they're doing a brief, if there's not enough conflict in it, send them back. Discipline yourselves to say one thing. Challenge your writers' agencies to say that thing better, and then use the strengths of the medium to advantage, subtext, expectation, surprise, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. I guess there's final comments, but to the bourbon. Thank y'all.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. And we're done. On behalf of the IAB Audio Committee and the working group that designed today's program and secured all the wonderful speakers, as well as the sponsors, Pandora, Triton Digital, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Authentic, and of course, WNYC, I'd like to really thank you all for being here today. Please join us for a drink, some bourbon, some chocolate, an appetizer, and tell us what you thought. Thanks.